Hello and welcome to the very first episode of the Fantasy Headliners, where we do the research so you don't have to. My name is Jake Hubman, along with Mr. Matt Galloway.
What's going on, people?
Man, we are here to get this started, get you guys as much information as possible, so you don't have to do all the research.
Indeed.
Yep. What we're going to do on this channel pretty much is do all the football research that we can, give you guys all the sleepers, the breakouts, the smart plays for the week, whatever we can do to help you guys out throughout the week. That's what we want to do. We love football. We're addicted to football, and there's no better way to do it than this.
Exactly. And most importantly, we want you guys to win.
Absolutely. You know why, Mac?
Because losing sucks.
Losing sucks. Absolutely. So let's go ahead and get this show started. What we're going to talk about today is some draft strategy, how not to lose the season on day one. I mean, there's so many things that happen during the draft that one small mistake here or there and your entire season is over with. Let's go ahead and get it started. Mac, why don't you give him the first reason?
Well, let me tell you, and kind of springboard off what we were just talking about, you know, the main importance of this channel, like Jake said, we want you guys to win. I mean, there's no ifs, ands, and buts about it. I mean, you play to win the game.
Absolutely. Everybody hates losing.
I mean, you know, that's no easy way to say it or put it. I mean, fantasy football is fun, yeah, but again, you want to win.
Absolutely. And there's so many ways to win and lose, and so many people that pay attention, so many people that don't pay attention.
Exactly.
You got to capitalize and take advantage of it whenever you can.
Yeah. I got a 3-year-old at home, man. I'm telling you something. Hey, I'm beating him in everything. You hear me? I don't care if it's coloring. I'm getting to the crayons before he does.
That's right. You got to find that blue one first.
You know what I mean?
Everybody wants the blue crayon.
Exactly.
That's right.
I don't care if it's pie in the face. We played that the other day. I loaded up a little extra whipped cream on it. You know, then he went to his mom and said, hey, Daddy's cheating.
Absolutely.
I said, listen here, son, come here. Let me tell you something. First of all, don't ever go to your mama about what we talk about. That's first and foremost. Secondly, everybody cheats. But, hey, you know, you got to do what you got to do to win.
That's right.
Hey, Bill Belichick cheated.
He cheats a lot.
Exactly. Donald Trump cheats.
He also cheats a lot.
Exactly.
But you know what? We got the President of the United States and
Yes.
the best football coach in America.
Exactly. And also, last but not least, I told him, I said, listen, son, Batman cheats. How in the world can a mere mortal, and of course he looked at me like, Daddy, what are you talking about?
Yeah, I think a 3-year-old knows what a mere mortal is.
Exactly. But I said, hey, he cheats. But just like Jake said, what does all three of those people have in common? They're winners. That's what we want you guys to do.
That's right. That's right. So be sure to stay tuned to this channel. We're going to give you guys breaking news as it happens. We're going to come to you through Facebook, through Twitter. Find us on YouTube. We'll be here minimum 3-4 times a week. Also going to be doing some Facebook Lives once the season starts. Make sure you guys have your lineup sets and ready to go. Indeed. All right, Mac, you ready to get into the first topic?
Let's do it.
All right, let's do it. Draft day. You guys need to know the rules and the scoring of your leagues. Every league is different. It doesn't matter if you're on ESPN, Yahoo, whatever it is. Everybody has different rules.
Mm-hmm.
If your quarterback gets 6 points for a touchdown, if your quarterback gets 4 points for a touchdown, you guys need to look at the settings to find out where you get your points, because points win games.
Right, exactly. Yeah, that's key, very important. And that'll also go and entwine also with player research. You got to be able to do your research properly. And first and foremost, like I said, come to us, whether it's our Twitter, Facebook, or what have you. You know, we're always going to keep you up to date with up-to-date stats and everything that's going on. OTAs, training camp now is about to start. So we'll keep you in the know.
Absolutely.
With your players.
And also, too, one other thing I want to add to it is the opponents that you have in your league. You may know them, you may not know them. They may be buddies of yours since high school. You may be playing against some dude on the internet you've never spoken to. If you do know the people you're playing with, you need to know who their favorite teams are, who their favorite players are, because they're probably going to take them way too early.
Yes.
I know a few cases in our situation. We got a lot of Carolina Panthers fans that we deal with, so you can better believe that Cam Newton, Christian McCaffrey, maybe even Kelvin Benjamin, they're coming off the board earlier than they should,
right?
Because it's their favorite team, and that's something you guys need to pay attention to. Also, if you don't know who they are, plan on a certain player that you want to, and maybe taking him around early. You don't know who these people are going to take. You don't know anything about them. So if there's a player out there that you want, grab him early.
Indeed.
All right. So you mentioned player research, Mac. Let's do a little bit of player research.
Okay.
What's that sound like?
Well,
go ahead.
Mainly, one of the things that I like to do in doing my player research is if you got a particular player, which it kind of leaks into our next topic, but if you got people who are going from one team to the next, you got to look at that whole landscape. Look at what they're going to be bringing to the new team. How is that going to affect their fantasy outlook? In particular, one player that I like, Brandin Cooks. He went to an outstanding quarterback, which he left another elite quarterback.
Yeah, he's going from Breeze to Brady.
Exactly. So the rich get richer. One thing I can say about Brandin Cooks, his speed is phenomenal. He's going to take the top off of a lot of defenses, and he's going to cause the safeties to have to adjust, fall back. So in that instance, it's going to leave the middle of the field void. So that's going to leave it open for Grump.
So you like Brandin Cooks this year?
Edelman. I do. But here's the thing.
There's a butt coming.
There's a butt
coming.
The thing about it, I like him, but I don't like him at his ADP. He's going high right now. Too high for my taste. But here's the thing. It just depends on what type of strategy you're going to be using. Mm-hmm. If you're going RBs early, you're going to miss out on him because a lot of people are going to take him early because they're going to think, okay, he's in this high potent offense. So some people are going to take him late first round. If it was myself, I'd probably look at him late second, early third. I know he won't stay that way.
What's his ADP at right now? Do you know?
I'm not quite sure. I think his ADP.
He's right around the end of the second, beginning of the third, I believe.
Yeah, it's end of the second. I'm not sure the number, but
that's a steep price to pay.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, I would much rather have Pierre Garçon.
Which is somebody you can get at least 2 or 3 rounds later.
Yes.
A lot of people forget about Pierre Garçon. I mean, heck, a few years ago in Indianapolis, he was a stud there. First couple of years in Washington, a stud. He kind of fell back a little bit with Deshaun Jackson, who also can't stay healthy. But Pierre Garçon is going to be the man.
Yeah, indeed.
In San Francisco, absolutely. Right. And you think about it, he's going back to his old offensive coordinator.
Yes.
The last time he was with that offensive coordinator, had a huge season, something like 120 catches.
Right.
And he's going to be the only offensive weapon they have in San Francisco.
Yeah. I mean, they're going to throw the ball and throw it a ton. He's going to get all the targets. But, again, going back to Brandon, it's the same thing. You got Gronk, Edelman. When Gronk, like 2015, he had like 125 targets. Edelman last year was like 158. So you're looking at – and then you got to throw in like White. Gillis is going to be mostly goal line. But – one of those backs that's going to catch passes like White or a Lewis. That's about 90. Yep. So that's 300 targets just between those guys. So Brandon is he's not really going to see that many targets. If I had to predict, I'd say maybe 900 yards, 4 TDs. That's a floor. That's easy.
Yep.
So I like him, but I think, like I said, he's going to have a bigger impact on the team itself. So if you're picking somebody like Brady, Edelman, or Grump, he's going to help them, more so than, if you just pick him by itself.
Well, I know the offseason, the Patriots picked up a bunch of running backs.
Oh, man.
Between Gillislee and Burkhead, and they already had White and Dion Lewis.
Right.
Do you think that gives them the opportunity to maybe just run a little bit more? They lost LeGarrette Blount. They don't have that big workhorse back. Now they just got a bunch of pass-catching backs.
Yeah.
Is that something you think they're going to end up going to more than downfield throwing?
Well, we're talking about Belichick. So you
never know.
You never know.
You never know.
It's weird because, they've got so many backs, like you said. James White alone, that's really all he needed. Of course, I would
Super Bowl MVP.
You know what I'm saying? So I don't really understand the logic in it, but again, like I said, it's Belichick. But I think Gillislee is going to be big.
Gillislee could be big.
Yeah,
he's the LeGarrette Blount replacement for the most part.
He's younger, quicker, and he's that north-south type runner.
Yep.
So
All right. Well, let me throw another name at you. Let me see what you think about this one. Guy moving to a new location. ADP's off the charts, end of the first, beginning of the second. Marshawn Lynch. Beast mode has returned.
Beast
mode. The return of beast mode. And now he gets an offensive line to run behind.
Yeah.
An offensive line like he probably hasn't ever had.
Right.
I mean, the Raiders' offensive line is a solid second behind Dallas hands down.
Yes.
You're talking about a top 3 offensive line. He's playing for pride.
Yeah.
He's not out there playing for a contract or playing for money. He wanted to play in Oakland before he retired.
Yeah.
And that speaks volumes compared to somebody playing for a contract. He's out there playing for pride.
Absolutely. Beast mode, he's one of those guys that I would love to get. I know in particular a lot of leagues, they're going to take him early. And I don't disagree with that. Like you said, he's going to have that vigor. He's going to have that aggressiveness that he wants to take the city on his back. Yep. I mean, he's born and bred in Oakland, and that's all he wants to do. You know what I mean? And if you look at it, he took a year off. Yeah, true enough. But the guy gets up at like 6:30 or some odd number in the morning every day.
I saw a video of him the other day. He's on the beach in boots doing speed drills.
Yeah.
I mean, the guy's out there in boots. Who does drills?
Who does that?
In a set of Timberlands.
Right, exactly.
Beast mode does. And that's about it. And another thing you got to think about, too, is defenses aren't going to be able just to key on the run.
Right.
I mean, they got Cooper and Crabtree on the outside who are very good offensive weapons for Derek Carr.
Right.
I mean, this is an overall amazing offense. I mean, he's got top 10 running back potential easy.
I agree.
I mean, he's done it before. He's got all the balls lined up for it this year. I mean, Oakland last year had 53 carries inside the 10-yard line.
Yeah.
I mean, look at the year that Latavius Murray had. And that's Latavius Murray.
You know what? I'm going to tell you something. Latavius Murray is one of the guys I don't like straight up runners. What I mean by that is a guy who's so prone. He you know, a running back to me is some of these guys like Jerome Bettis, you know, compact. You know, they make their space small. You know, slow to the hole, blow through the hole. You know what I'm saying? That's the type of runners I like. And you know, Latavius wasn't that, but in the same token, what did he have? Like 10 touchdowns?
Yeah, he had a huge year.
Exactly. So
huge year. And you can tell because, I mean, the second he went to Minnesota and they drafted a rookie quarterback, it's not even his team yet.
Yeah.
I mean, a guy who had his type of year, you'd think that he'd be able to go somewhere and be the starter.
Yeah.
And he's not. He's just not that solid, and he had a killer year in Oakland. I mean, they ran the ball 434 times last year. That is a ton of carries. And I don't expect Marshawn to come out and get some crazy Zeke 350 carries.
Right.
I don't see that. But, I mean, if you can get, you know, Lynch 250, maybe even 225 in the goal line carries, hands down RB1.
Oh, absolutely. And, I mean, you know, he's relentless. And just in his famous words, he's going to run through your face over and over. Yeah.
All right, who else you got for us this year, Mac?
Well, I'm going to tell you another person I like, man.
Give it to me.
And Erik Decker.
Oh, I knew you were going to go to Decker.
You know, I picked him last year.
You did?
Along with others. Let me tell you something. And you know this firsthand. I had Erik Decker, Keenan Allen,
Adrian Peterson.
AD all day, my man.
If anybody got hurt last year,
I had him.
You had him on the roster.
Yes. But, again, you know, with the research that we do, you know, I didn't win the championship this year, but, you know.
But you're coming for it this year?
Indeed, man.
Good luck with that because I ain't backing down for nothing.
Well, hey. But anyway.
All right, back to Erik Decker.
Back to Erik.
Give it to me on him this year.
You know, his ADP is going around 97. He's very interesting. You know, he's coming off of a year where he had 2 major surgeries, you know, his shoulder and also his hip. But he's been cleared. You know, they gave him a great bill of health. So he's looking real good. He's been looking good in OTAs. He's had a good rapport with Mariota. So I think he's going to be something to contend with. The only thing that really concerns me with that whole situation is they got so many weapons right now.
They have a ton of weapons.
I mean, you know, you draft Corey Davis. You know, that's the first wide receiver off the board. You know, you still got Rashard Matthews. They got Trey McBride. Delaney Walker's still there. You know, he's a top 5.
That's a lot of targets.
You know what I'm saying?
That's a lot of targets to go around.
It's intriguing, but
and don't forget too, they got Derrick Henry and DeMarco Murray to run the ball.
Exactly. So that again, I think this is going to be one of those offenses, just like New England and the previously stated Oakland Raiders. They're going to be exceptional. They're going to be off the charts. I mean, it's a problem. I guarantee it's probably about 7 or 8 teams that I really like their offense this year. But these three in particular, and Tennessee is going to be awesome.
Tennessee is going to be a team that competes this year.
He has had a track history, other than last year, of course, due to the injury, double-digit TDs, at least 3 or 4 straight years. So I could see him repeating that this year, barring injury. And I could also see him becoming the number 2 receiver.
Absolutely. I think he's somebody who's very dependable.
Yeah.
He's, once he gains that rapport with Mariota, it's going to be easy.
It's going to be easy.
It's going to be easy for him. All right, I got another one for you.
All right.
Let's talk Jeremy Maclin.
I like Mac.
Jeremy Maclin. I mean, this boy can be sick.
Yeah.
He did it in Philly.
Yep.
He did it on a Kansas City team that barely ever threw the ball.
Right.
I know last year was an injury year for him. He didn't have the greatest years last year, but going to Baltimore, Baltimore threw the ball more than any other team in the league last year, and a lot of people don't even know that.
True.
I mean, they had 679 pass attempts. That is a ton of throws. Yeah. That's a lot of catches, or Joe Flacco's arm is going to fall off. One of the two.
Yeah.
And here's the thing about it, too, is Baltimore lost a lot of people in the offseason. I mean, they lost Steve Smith, Dennis Pitta, Kamar Aiken.
Yeah.
They all combined for 272 targets.
Man,
that's huge. And now you're talking about Samaje Perine and Jeremy Maclin.
Right.
I mean, somebody's going to get a huge workload.
Indeed.
And Perine can't stay healthy.
No. And I mean, he's had all the potential in the world. Everybody, even myself, thought highly about him. I mean, he's got that talent, but he hadn't shown it as of yet. So, also, Maclin will help people like Dixon when he gets back. Wes is going to take the reins so far. A couple of games, I think, when I think Dixon's out on suspension. Well, Danny Woodhead as well.
Woodhead's going to have a huge year.
Woodhead is going to be awesome.
That's right.
He's going to be awesome.
And here's the thing about Maclin, too. I mean, as of right now, and this is going to change. I mean, this is going to creep up as we get closer to the season. Right now, he's an 8th-round ADP.
Yeah.
I mean, you can get a solid number 2 wide receiver late in the 8th round. Stack yourself up with some running backs. Take Maclin late.
Exactly.
But he is somebody that's going to be moving up. But going back to being on Kansas City, I mean, in 2015, he almost had 1,100 yards on a team that was 25th in the league in pass attempts. I mean, that's huge. He's got the breakaway speed. Flacco's got the big arm. There's no reason why he can't at least match that 1,100 yards. Yeah. Saying 6 to 8 touchdowns.
Oh, absolutely.
And you'll take that all day long from your wide receiver, too.
Well, and then also, the reports, even, coming from that camp and from Maclin himself, he was saying that he had a groin injury last year. So that's what really hampered his performance. But off the field, it was a lot of reports how he was such a mentor to guys like Tyreek, Conley. These guys really, talked about how he gave so much wisdom to these guys. So to me, I look at stuff like that, stuff off the field. It matters to me for a player.
Yep, absolutely.
So that I think he's got all the hidden gems that you need to be successful.
Absolutely. There's something else that people kind of fall in love with as the season starts, and that's rookies. Oh, everybody likes the shiny new toy.
Yeah.
Everybody's waiting for the Christmas morning special.
Yes.
They want to get their new player to their team, unwrap them like a Christmas present.
Yes.
Throw them in the starting lineup, and all of a sudden they think they got a solid RB1 or wide receiver 1.
Right.
There are a few rookies out there this year that we kind of want to talk about. Some of them may start the season the starter. Some of them may not. It's something that you need to pay attention to throughout the year.
Yeah.
It's something we'll be paying attention to, I know. One person I'm really paying attention to is Deshaun Watson.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously he had all the accolades in college.
Right.
Everybody's talking about Deshaun Watson. He goes into Houston. Houston's got DeAndre Hopkins, Will Fuller, Lamar Miller, who had a down season, but also had a new rookie, Donta Foreman, coming out. Yeah. I mean, they're stacked with weapons. And you're giving the ball to Tom Savage to start the year. Nothing against Tom Savage, but we all know that Tom Savage is not the future of the Houston Texans.
No, not at all.
Especially not with a 12th overall pick. I mean, you don't spend a 12th overall pick just to have him ride the bench for very long.
No.
And all the comparisons are already being made, and I want to know what you think about this because I know you're a huge fan of Dak Prescott.
Right.
Everybody's saying he could be this year's Dak Prescott. What do you think about that?
Yeah. Well, so let's be clear. I try to be impartial when it comes to that. Being a Pittsburgh Steelers fan, it's very hard to divide those lines. But Dak Prescott was really, really good last year. I think a lot of things fell into play and in place for him to be successful. The same could happen for Deshaun. You know what I mean?
It's possible.
I really think this is going to be a rebound year for D-Hop. He's going to have an excellent year. Lamar Miller, I'm not a huge fan of, but if anything, he's an RB2. You know what I'm saying? And if they can get this passing game together, man,
he could be special.
He could be special.
All the hype that was surrounding him last year could come back.
Yeah,
definitely. And DeAndre Hopkins, a guy who specializes in the deep ball, wants to break away. Osweiler couldn't throw the ball, to the coach on the sidelines, much less a receiver running a route down the field.
Right.
I mean, he was absolutely horrible, and he killed DeAndre Hopkins. I think Deshaun Watson could be the answer to that, though. He could come in. He's a deep ball specialist. By all means, he has all the tools capable of finding Hopkins, finding Fuller.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, and the amount of receptions over 20 yards that Hopkins had last year compared to the year before, it was something like he had 10 receptions over 20 yards this year, last year, which is nothing.
Right.
And I think he had 19 the year before. That's a huge chunk of yardage.
Yes.
It all goes back to the quarterback play. And here's the thing about Watson. As of right now, he's going undrafted for the most part.
Oh, yeah.
That's somebody you can grab in the very last round of the draft, stash him if you didn't get a solid quarterback, and you may end up with a QB1 by week 4 or 5.
Yeah. I mean, that's – when you get later into the rounds, 10, 11, 12, you're looking for upside. You're looking for that diamond in the rough. Last year, I had Michael Thomas. Those were one of those situations where he started out slow. I was a little impatient when it came to that. But, he went off. You know what I'm saying? So you can get people like that. David Johnson.
Okay.
A lot of these, you know what I mean? A lot of these guys. So you have to really look for the upside as you get later in the rounds. And I really think Deshaun has a lot of upside. I could see him actually starting mid-season, at least by game 4.
I think it's all going to depend on the first few games. If Tom Savage comes out and lays an egg, they're 0-2, 0-3, 0-4.
Yeah.
Watson's going to get a chance.
The pressure's going to be on.
Yep.
Coaching staff is not going to allow 2 seasons to go the way it has been.
Absolutely not. And, I mean, you see in the news now, even DeAndre Hopkins is talking up Tom Savage. And everybody's like, oh, maybe Tom Savage is going to stay. And everybody's got to listen. The wide receiver is going to back whoever's throwing the ball.
Right.
He wants the ball. He doesn't care if it's Deshaun Watson or Thomas Savage. He's going to be their best friend to make sure he gets as many targets as he possibly can.
Yes. Yes, indeed. And, another player that I've been looking at, and since we're talking about rookies, I like a guy in Detroit, Mr. Kenny Golladay.
Oh, boy.
Kenny Golladay is one of those players. I look at Player Profiler a lot, and they are really likening him to Quincy Enunwa.
Quincy's a beast.
Yeah, Quincy is nice. And, I mean, if Quincy Enunwa, just a little side note, if he had a prolific passer, let's say if he was with the Saints, man, he would have like 1,500 yards. You know what I mean?
He's a tight end in a wide receiver's body.
Indeed. And this is the same thing that they're talking about Kenny Golladay. Everything in camp and OTAs they're talking about, he's so impressive. He's shown great rapport with Stafford. And he's pushing people like Marvin Jones and Tate, to really step their game up. He's like 6'4", 210 pounds. The guy runs a 4.4 40. I mean, and he's actually in the same conference, or he came out of the same conference that Corey Davis did, the first wide receiver out of the draft. And if you look at their numbers, they were comparable. Corey Davis had like 1,500 yards, 19 TDs. Well, Kenny Golladay had 1,411 TDs.
But nobody's talking about Kenny Golladay.
Nobody's even talking about this guy. So I really feel real strong about this guy, man, and I'm going to keep my eye on him. And I think you guys should too.
Absolutely. And somebody else talking about a beast, and you mentioned a name earlier that brought this guy to mind, is Samaje Perine.
Yes.
This dude is a beast.
Oh,
I mean,
man.
he is a hoss. He can tuck that ball in. He can burn you down the field, or he can run through your face.
Yeah.
I mean, you mentioned Jerome Bettis earlier, and this guy, to me, oozes Jerome Bettis, Steven Jackson, old school power running backs who only need a little bit of a hole and they're going to lower their shoulder and plow right through. This guy had 427 yards and 5 touchdowns in a game. I mean, I don't care if you're in college, pros, whatever it is. 427 yards and 5 touchdowns in one game is ridiculous. That is.
If you think about that backfield, man, that was in Oklahoma, man, that is unreal. Him
and Nixon.
Oh my gosh, man, that is crazy.
Yep, it's crazy. And this guy, he's got 4.6 speed. He did 30 reps at the bench. As a running back, that is
phenomenal.
That's like linebacker numbers.
Yeah.
And here he is toting the ball. And as of right now, he hasn't been named a starter. You still got Fat Rob Kelly up in there.
Right.
But as of right now, he's a 9th round pick. I mean, he could end up being the starter out of training camp. And if that's the case, his ADP is going to shoot up. He's not going to be a 9th round back.
No. And that's the thing. You're going to have to take him early. I mean, especially as preseason goes on. And it's one thing that I know yourself and myself, we listen to a lot of things that's going on in training camp. A lot of things that's going on, throughout the wire on the news and the internet. And the coaches have talked him up.
Yep.
Huge. They've really talked this guy up, talking about how they really like how he's just a hard runner. Of course, I like Fat Rob, and I think the coaching staff does as well. But for some reason, there's a reason they brought him in.
Yep.
And I don't think they are 100% sold on Rob.
No. If that were the case, they wouldn't have drafted Perine.
Indeed.
All right, who else you got for us? You got one more for us?
Yeah, I got one more, man. And it kind of goes in the same flow, in the same vein as Samaje Perine. Jamaal Williams.
Jamaal Williams.
His kid, man, I'm telling you something. He's phenomenal. Now, and I want to go back because I like Ty Montgomery. Ty Montgomery was one of the guys that I talked about last year. I actually had him on my squad. Ty is a great back. The only thing that concerns me, the main thing that concerns me is the coaching staff, the way they view him. You know what I'm saying? I don't think they don't fully believe in him. They don't fully believe in him, And I know there was certain games, but it was all dependent upon the flow. One game he had, it was 30% of his fantasy points came into. It was the one game against Chicago last year. So, and then he had a lot of games where he didn't see a lot of touches.
Yep.
Not a lot of carries. So, I think that kind of concerned me a lot. But Jamaal Williams, man, this kid's a beast. He is a huge beast, man. I'm telling you something.
Oh, yeah. He's going to be somebody that's going to definitely make his way to a waiver wire at one point throughout the year.
Definite. So I would definitely keep an eye on him. Coaches have all talked about him. They love his aggressive downhill running style. They said that he could be a 3-down back, and that's something that they're really looking for.
Yeah, absolutely.
So just keep your eyes on him.
Absolutely.
I think he'll be good.
All right, Max, we've talked about some rookies.
Yes.
There's some stories in the news that probably need to be addressed a little bit. There's a top 3 pick that may be in a little bit of trouble.
Dun, dun, dun.
What do you got, Mac?
Well, we all know about Zeke the Freak. Preliminary. He's a perennial back. I mean, he's phenomenal. But got a little issue going on in the news.
The Laffield issue?
Yeah, and it seems like it's just, it keeps lingering. It keeps following him.
It kept popping up last year. Nothing ever happened.
Yeah. Well, reports now, Adam Schefter is come out and said, and, 90% of the things that he's always, brought to the light has came to pass. And he's talking about how the league is looking and investigating. So there could potentially be some type of penalty. I don't know if it's a suspension or whatever, but they're talking about it heavily.
If you got a top 3 pick, you going to put it on Zeke?
I am not.
You are not.
I will not.
So the NFL leader in rushing, you're sitting there at number 3. Say right. Bell and Johnson are gone. You going to pass on Zeke? If
it was me, even though, like I said, I firmly believe in running backs, especially in a standard or half-point PPR. I like to get my backs early, but no, I'd have to go.
Who do you take over him?
I'm taking Antonio.
Well, what if Antonio? I knew you were going to take Antonio. Yeah, Steelers fan.
Well, yeah. I mean, but even taking that aside, Antonio Brown, heck, 2 years ago he was number 1. He was a number 1 pick, even last year. Consensus number 1. So And this year with Bell, healthy.
Yep.
He's playing
Martavis Bryant's back.
Martavis is coming back. And, dude, I'm telling you something. Martavis Bryant looks like a beast. This dude, I've seen some of his films, some of his training. The guy put on 15 pounds of muscle.
Yep.
He looks phenomenal. So that offense, as long as Big Ben stays healthy.
Which is a big as long as.
True.
Yeah. Big Ben likes to eat cheeseburgers on the sideline.
He does. There's nothing wrong with that, but.
There ain't nothing wrong with eating cheeseburgers if you're not an NFL quarterback.
Indeed.
I mean, that dude had a bigger double chin than I did last year.
Well, hey, me as well. But the guy can throw. And then if you're going back and you look at 2 years ago, 2015, Big Ben had a phenomenal year as well. The whole nucleus, man, those killer bees were phenomenal.
Yep.
So I think Brown could have an excellent year. I mean, he may even lead the league in receiving yards. TDs are kind of iffy, you know what I mean? Because when you get in the red zone, that's probably a Bell thing, you know what I mean?
Yep.
But
well, how long do you let Zeke slide? If you're sitting there at the end of the first round, maybe even 6, 7, 8, heck, 9 and 10, can you afford to pass on him?
No.
You got to take him.
You got to take him.
You got to take him.
Yeah, you got to take him there. Now, it just depends, like you said, depends on the situation. But as much as I would hate it, I'd have to take some of the top receivers like Brown, Julio, even Odell, Shady. He's another one I'm really high on. So
Shady could have a huge year, especially in PPR leagues.
Yeah.
Heck, if it's PPR leagues, I'm almost borderline taking Shady over any wide receiver because he's going to get the work volume. He's not going to have touchdown stealing Mike Gillislee there this year. And heck, even 13, 14 games of Shady, that's a top 10 back all day long.
Yeah, and Melvin Gordon's another one. I'm not.
Don't get me started on Melvin Gordon.
Well, I'm not a huge Melvin Gordon fan either. But, I mean, numbers don't lie. The guy's phenomenal. I think he can springboard off of his season last year, especially if Keenan comes back healthy. You got all these weapons: Tyrell, Travis Benjamin. Even the rookie Williams. If he comes back, that offense is going to be awesome.
Oh yeah, they have tons of weapons. There's no doubt about that.
So there's no way that they can put him in front. So this guy he's going to have lanes galore.
And here's the thing: is he had a great year last year, and I think part of that was because he had a not so great year the year before.
Yeah.
I don't even know if he had a touchdown 2 years ago. And then all of a sudden last year he's racking them up left and right. I like Melvin Gordon, and I think there's a lot of hype around him, but where he's being drafted at right now, there's no way I'm taking Melvin Gordon that high. I mean, the guy didn't even have 1,000 yards last year. You're talking about a top 10 pick.
Right.
Didn't even have 1,000 rushing yards. He's not a pass catching back. I mean, that's a lot to spend on somebody that didn't break the century mark.
Right. And I agree. But, okay, here's my question. So, if you're going to pass on Melvin, and we're looking at probably late first round, so who would you consider before him? Man,
there's no question in my mind I'm taking Devontae Freeman ahead of most of those guys. I am so high on Devontae Freeman. I don't think the Falcons are going to be as good overall as they were last year, but I think they're going to commit to Freeman this year. New offensive coordinator. They're not going to be using Tevin Coleman like they were. I mean, Tevin's still going to be used, but I think they're going to go to more of a lead back, and there is nobody better than Devontae Freeman when he got touches last year. His biggest problem was getting touches.
Yeah. Well, and I can agree with that, but I'm going to play devil's advocate for a minute. So this is, he's in a contract year. You and I both, we are really big on players in fantasy who have contracts coming up. They normally play outstanding. Look at Doug Martin a couple years ago. Okay.
They want to get that money.
Exactly. So, and I see that, but if you're looking at it from an ownership standpoint, okay, you got RB1, RB1A all on your team. Tevin Coleman really was a starter, a couple years ago.
He could start for a lot of teams right now.
Indeed. So my question is, if you're ownership, why would you pay this guy, just gobs of money when you got a guy sitting right here on your bench who could very well take over the reins, and you could just hey, use him up, for this year and let him go on his way and get his money elsewhere.
Well, the only thing I can say about that is it's fine for me for this year for fantasy.
Well, yeah.
As far as fantasy goes, I'm not a Falcons fan, so I don't care if he stays there for the next 10 years. I want him to stay there this year, and I want him to win me a dang championship.
Yeah.
But I think he's capable of it.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
I mean, if he got the touches last year, he averaged almost 5 yards a carry. That's ridiculous. The dude is lightning quick. He's tiny. He can hide behind those linemen, find holes, and he can bust big ones every single game.
Yeah. Just as long as he doesn't step on Julio's foot. Yeah.
And it doesn't matter who's out there. Somebody's stepping on Julio's foot.
Yeah.
I'm talking about Julio, though.
Oh, my gosh.
Man, he's got all the potential. Mm-hmm. And one thing I like about Julio is, okay, they got the new offensive coordinator. Mm-hmm. Is this going to go back to the old Julio of a couple years ago where he's catching 100 balls and 1,800 yards?
Right.
Or is this going to stay the same offense where it's more of a spread everything out, hit all the different weapons, the Taylor Gabriels, the people you've never heard of, the Austin Hoopers? I mean, who is Austin Hooper? But all of a sudden he's catching balls for touchdowns in the playoffs. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So that's one thing to think about. A new offensive coordinator, if Julio's healthy, this may be the year that Julio goes off again. He may get close to the 1,800-yard mark again.
And that's possible. And then again, it could be another situation as they could run two backs in the backfield. Maybe you have Tevin, wide out a little bit, just like Le'Veon did. Mm-hmm. Catch a lot of passes in the backfield and use Devontae as your main back. So if you're doing that, that's going to take away targets from Julio as well. So
now, if you draft Devontae, do you have to draft Tevin?
Yeah, that's the other issue. You do. And you're going to have to get them
early because you're going to have to draft two running backs from the same team within the first 5 or 6 rounds.
And don't get me wrong, I am a firm believer in handcuffing, especially if it's your number one RB. Mm-hmm. A couple of years ago when we had D'Angelo Williams in Pittsburgh, you had to have him, if you got Bell. Also with Derrick Henry and Murray. Same
Last
situation.
Year it was, Alfred Morris in Dallas.
Yeah.
That didn't quite turn out, but
exactly.
But it was a handcuff to own because if the starter goes down, you have an RB1 sitting on your bench.
Well, you got systems. You've got at least 3 in the league now that you can plug any decent running back and they're going to succeed. Kansas City, Pittsburgh, Oakland, Dallas, Tennessee. Yep. All these systems are geared for a decent running back to succeed. Yep. So those are the ones that you're looking at. If you're going to get those RB1s, you're going to have to spend a high pick in order to get their handcuffs. So that's the issue you're going to look at in getting Devontae. You're going to have to get Tevin. And I don't know if that's something I'd be willing to do. Yep. I'd much rather get another upside player. Yep. Somebody that I could get some potential out of. Yep. Later on or in that 6th round.
Absolutely. Absolutely. No question about that. One thing I want to say out there to all the viewers is make sure that you're following us on Twitter, finding us on Facebook. Yeah. We're going to be doing this show regularly, but we're more than willing to answer any questions you guys have. If there's anything out there, any questions you have draft strategy-wise, player research-wise, reach out to us. All the information is going to be there on the bottom of your screen. We look forward to making these videos all year long. Cannot wait for football season to get started.
Oh, my gosh, man. I'm telling you, I'm so excited. I think I've mocked since January.
Whew,
I'm telling you, man.
That's a lot of mocks.
It's a lot of mocking, man. I'm a mocking mammy jammy. You know what I'm saying?
That's right. That's for sure. That's for sure. Well, hey, if you guys enjoyed the show, make sure you like the video, subscribe to the channel. Be sure to keep on watching. We'll be sure to keep giving you guys the content. Anything else you got, Mac?
Hey, just tune in. Give us a like, comments. Anything you want to say, we'll be more than happy to help as well as we can.
That's right. Mac, why don't you remind the people one more time while we do this?
Hey, listen. Winning is everything. And the main thing, losing sucks.
That's right. Have a good one, guys.